And speaking of teams that eked out a win yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, went technically on the road to the LA Chargers, although based on the crowd noise and based on watching it from television, it seemed like SoFi Stadium had more Dallas Cowboy fans in the arena. I keep thinking it's an arena because it is. It's almost like an entertainment place that you go. It's huge, a $5 billion facility. It's absolutely sensational, SoFi Stadium. But the stadium was pretty much more filled with Cowboy fans than with Charger fans. And obviously, Greg the Leg, Zuerlein, the former LA Ram, interestingly enough, kicked the game-winning 56-yard field goal to down the Chargers 20-17. And obviously this was as time expired as well. But to me, this was the first time in a long time that the Dallas Cowboys did one thing particularly well. And I think this was perhaps the biggest takeaway from this game more than anything, is they recaptured their sense of identity. For the first time in years, the Dallas Cowboys finally were able to regain their sense of identity and truly understand who they are, what they were doing well, and that is with their offensive line. Their offensive line, for the first time in 3 years, looked like an offensive line that was holding up when the Cowboys went 13-3 a couple years ago. Like the offensive line when DeMarco Murray was the leading rusher in the NFL in 2014. Like the offensive line that helped lead and make Ezekiel Elliott the NFL's leading rusher in 2016, in 2018. I'm not saying that this Dallas Cowboys team is a Super Bowl contender, but I think that so often what's lacking from teams is a true sense of identity. And for the last couple years, the Cowboys were kind of spiraling as far as what is their identity. Are we a Dak Prescott heavy team? Are we now an Andy Dalton? Are we Ezekiel Elliott? Well, Ezekiel Elliott looks to be diminishing. What type of team are we? Is this Kellen Moore? Is this Mike McCarthy? And finally, for the first time, they were able to assess themselves and recapture what made them good and what made them peak in recent years. And that was all sparked, again, by that offensive line. All these shortcomings from previous years, finally, they have an answer. They were healthy. Tyron Smith was an impenetrable wall on the left tackle side. Connor Williams, Tyler Biadasz. Zach Martin was back healthy, finally, who missed the opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so that's what was the most important thing for the Dallas Cowboys, is they reverted back to what's made them so successful. And that's been developing an offensive attack around a great offensive line. And from the offensive line, you pound the rock, not relying on a pass-heavy attack, not relying too much on Dak, but getting great contributions and productions from your run game, whose lanes are created by the offensive line. That's how this team succeeds. That's how they did succeed. That's how they're going to succeed now. That's how they'll need to succeed in the future. And again, in recent memory, their biggest strength was the offensive line. It wasn't just like, well, we have to pick a strength, let's just go with an offensive line. No, that's what the Cowboys were known for. They were known for having this impenetrable 5-person wall that opened up gaping holes for the running backs to gash defenses. That's what they were known for. And yesterday it came to fruition. Tony Pollard, first of all, looked like the better running back than Ezekiel Elliott. And that's not hyperbolic at all. He had 13 carries, 109 yards, 8.5 yards per carry to go with a touchdown. Zeke was still productive, 16 for 71 yards and a touchdown, but didn't have the same explosiveness, didn't have the same pop as Tony Pollard did yesterday. So I guess the one silver lining is the Cowboys now have 2 legitimate running backs, although one you're paying 5 years, $90 million for, basically $16 million a year. The other one, I don't even know what Tony Pollard is making, but I know it's substantially less than that. So that's super important for the Cowboys. That, again, was kind of a chicken with its head cut off. Mike McCarthy doesn't really know what he's doing. Even claimed that he mismanaged the clock situation towards the end of the game. No one needs to hear that. That is, you're a head football coach of an NFL team. You got 2 timeouts, 30 seconds left. I don't even want to touch on that excuse. You're fortunate to have come out and have won the game. But the thing that was impressive, then that's when they turned to Dak. Once the run game was established, once the offensive line was doing its part, Dak was 6 for 10, or the Cowboys rather were 6 for 10 on third downs. They had fewer turnovers. They forced more takeaways. And again, only turned to Dak on a couple key plays down the stretch. This offense was primarily run heavy. It was about 50% pass, 50% run. In fact, the Cowboys had 103 more rushing yards than the Chargers, which is a great game plan for this team. And what's probably a more salient point is the fact that this is the first time since 2018 that the Cowboys have won a game when they've scored under 30 points. Think about that. This is the first time since 2018 that the Cowboys have been able to pull out a win without scoring 30-plus points. All of 2019, all of 2020, every single one of their games, they had to score over 30. They couldn't rely on the defense. The defense played a lot better, came away with 2 big interceptions late on Justin Herbert. Now, granted, the Chargers were marching down the field multiple times, had 2 big possessions all the way near the goal line. They couldn't convert, but I think some of the credit has to be aimed at the direction of the Dallas Cowboys defense. So, again, with the exception of one bad throw from Dak, he was efficient, 23 of 27. The defense played well, forced turnovers. Their offensive line regained its form. The running game started to develop again and seems to be percolating a little bit in the right direction. And so I think that, listen, this is a really good win for a Dallas Cowboys team that had to go, technically, yes, on the road and knock off a really kind of ascending Chargers team with a lot of talent. Asante Samuel, Derwin James, this is a really good secondary, too, for the Chargers. So I think this was a really impressive win. All around, a very quality win. And it was the 11th time in Dak's career that he's delivered a comeback win when either tied or trailing in the fourth quarter. So he's a leader. But they didn't rely on him or prioritize the passing game over the run game. And I think that has to be the recipe for success moving forward. Because when they called on Dak late, that's when he delivered. They didn't ask him to deliver throughout the entire game. They said, okay, give us one really quality drive down the stretch. He goes 5 for 5, 35 yards, hits Amari Cooper for 12 yards on a critical third down, and essentially sets up Greg Zuerlein to kick the game-winning field goal. And that's it. And so for me, this just felt like a Cowboys game. This felt like just big Texas, rugged, Western-style movie shootout type of feel. Just kind of felt like a Western film that comes down to the end and it comes to a shootout, although this was a lower scoring shootout. That was kind of the vibe and the style that I took away from this game. So big quality win for the Cowboys. They level up their record at 1-1 before they begin to face NFC East competition. So shout out to them and Greg the Leg. Big time win.